So, Samed, my question is, how do I just feel that my stuff is worth 20 bucks? You know, that my skills and everything are worth people wanting them.
Mm.
Any ideas?
I would actually challenge you to say that, it's way more than 20 bucks. Think about what you're doing, right, Alex? Because flow state is $1 trillion industry, and what you're doing is essentially getting people out of their heads and into their body. And
Right.
that's all everybody is doing. They're going to IMAX, they're watching porn, right? They're doing everything to get out of their head. That's
Right.
all everything is. So the fact that you have a shortcut to that, I mean, it's a paradox. So you have to embody the fact that you're the embodiment coach, right? And I
Yeah.
think
I'm in my head thinking I'm not worthy of their attention
right,
to get them out of their head so they can be in their
right,
body.
right. So it's an alignment, right? So it's really about like how can you show up differently, right? How can you show up embodied in these sessions or when you're communicating with these people? Maybe like wiggling your toes or like tapping your foot on the dance floor, right? And getting that momentum moving. So once you are in your body, because you are the body guy, right? So once you are in that dance flow or the movement flow or that, the shoulders drop down and relax and breathe into the belly flow, right? Whatever it is for you, that like that somatosensory experience, I think, is going to allow you and give you permission to be like, hey, I do deserve this because this is what I can really do. Let's say that you would give advice to your son and he's come to you and he's telling you like, how do I deserve this $20? How can I be of more about? What would you say to him?
Wow. That's a good question. What did I say to them? I would say get get used to being in service for people. Get used to being in service. You know, volunteer for organizations. Um, you know, uh, just get out there. Just be really, really, and then just keep your head down and don't worry about accolades and stuff. Just because it makes you feel good, and you just do it. You just do it. That's what seems right.
Really? Yeah, it's that momentum. It's that building of that momentum, right? Because right now it feels like there's different pieces, and it's like you have to process all this stuff that's happening, right? It's like, oh, my mom's sick, and then this thing's happening, and that thing. It's like you're trying to integrate all of that and bring it together and be like, and be of service. But
Right.
I think just being able to focus on that, like you're always one step away, a moment away from moment, right? And so if you can just take that first embryo step, that's going to spark the fire. I think it's all around the positioning, right? Of you just stepping in and embodying the embodiment coach, right? Just, I think that's a big, because it's like, you could package it whichever way you want. It could be like, I'm giving out, DNA activation healings, I'm channeling, the fifth entity beings. You can say whatever, but you have to step into it and actually embody that, right? That's how people are going to buy it, not
I mean,
someone
it's
who's
what I do. I did it before I got on this morning when I woke up. I did my energy exercises. I did embodiment exercises, and it's like, this is what I do. This is what I do.
Alex, you need to demonstrate that out into the world. I like the gamification aspect of it. One of my reframes personally for rejection is that every rejection is a redirection. Like that person is not meant to be for me. Like if they gave up on me or they did some logistic was wrong, I wasn't there at the right moment. Someone, slipped up in some way in the quantum that made it happen that way. So I'm not really attached to it. I'm just connected to it, right? So
Okay.
in the sense, it's like even when you're approaching girls, you don't want to think that she has a chance of rejecting me, right? Because it's still like you want to be the prize, right? And the same thing with your business, you are the prize, right? That's the same mindset. And so
I am the prize.
yeah, and so when stepping into their reality, you're basically they're stepping into your reality. That's the frame. It's like when you're walking across them, you're not approaching them. They're stepping into your universe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Or it's like, I'm really convinced that this is all a video game in some way, shape, or form, you know? And I keep getting caught in the game, and I need to step outside the game and understand that I have the cheat codes. I can just, you know, I'm not
Yeah.
attached, and I don't.
And you can always press menu mode and become the observer again and just be like, okay, I'm watching the game now. Right? And that's the best
Okay,
state to be. You're in neutrality.
right.
Right? You drop the, like, I'm not playing, I'm just watching now.
Yeah. I think the only thing for me to do is to just keep going, keep doing it, keep track of what I'm doing, and not quit. As long as I do that, I'm eventually going to succeed.
If you just keep being that songbird, right, and get into that alignment, like I said, there's going to be people reaching out to you out of the blue. You know, I'm sure you've had it before where people are like, hey, I really dig what you're doing here. Or they're just like, suddenly they're in that, but that's because you've closed the internal loop on that, right? You've been like, okay, I'm full stop on this now, not a dot dot, right? And
Right.
so like I think that's a big element to it. Is just be the songbird. There's gonna be cats meowing, but you're up on the tree, right? You're still singing, and I think that's that frequency.
Yeah, and again, it's about service for me. Service, because like I was saying to my son, you know, you're being selfish. You're thinking about yourself. When you think about others, you're gonna soften and things are gonna come in. So that's what I have to do.
Something that I share with people who have stage fright is that I tell them that to imagine that they're not the person up here giving the speech to the people down there, because then there's a disconnect. And if they just imagine that they're, like, the audience is them. Do you do any mirror work? Have you done any mirror
I
work?
have done I have done mirror work. I have done mirror work, and I do. I mean, I studied this stuff called the release technique. You should have seen me before. I've come so far, and
Mm.
one of the things we do is the mirror technique. We do it a lot. So yeah, absolutely, I do it. It's always funny because you start the mirror technique and you're always like, "Ooh, I don't like my nose. Oh my," and then you just stay in there. After a while, it all just kind of goes away. Just kind of, so what? So what? You know?
I have a process of that where I play, like, let's say, a favorite song of mine. I don't really focus on the lyrics too much rather than the vibe of the song. I'll
Uh-huh.
just play the whole song and just make eye contact with myself in the mirror and not compensate, not, do cool faces and nothing, just like eye contact for that entire time.
Mm.
And then what I do after that is reframe all of the negative things that I notice in myself. And that's powerful. You're like, oh, I have bags under my eyes, but they're Gucci bags, right? Like, you'll be like, oh yeah, yeah, I have some pimples, but that just means I have high testosterone, right? So you're just like basically reframing all the negative things that you're seeing, and you're like, no, that makes me unique. That makes me more masculine. That makes me, very charismatic. That actually makes me a wise old person. Right, and then you just keep stacking them, and it's like this intense self-love to the point, almost to the brink of narcissism, but you're not there. You're not touching it yet. You're like kind of on the edges of it, right? So that's extreme example, but
I've
it's
never
very.
done it like that. I've never done what you do. What we just look at ourselves and we just allow the feelings. This is the thing. What I've learned about the technique that I do. We're always what we're afraid of is our feelings. We're afraid of them. But if you learn to just sit with them, they're just energy, And what I haven't done yet is I haven't taken this technique out into the world and worked with it in the moment where I'm interacting with somebody else.